Okay, welcome everyone to our daily Forex market analysis call. This is in preparation for trading on September 27, 2017. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. So let's go take a look at our calendar first. So today, the big thing that happened here was Fed Chair Yellen. So after we walked away from the computer here, we had this craziness in the market where price went up and down all over the place. And it was created by Yellen's speech. So just a comment about that, just a quick comment about that. So anytime if there are any trades running and we have a central banker talking for that particular currency, a hard rule of thumb that I always follow is I never trade when a central bank banker is talking. So even if you have trades on 10 minutes prior to the trades, all trades are closed. That's just hard rule that I don't like to break. So no trading during central bankers time, because this is the stuff that can happen during, it can go in one direction, another direction, and there is no rhyme or reason as to, it's all based on interpretation of their comments. So I just wanted to point that out to make sure when we have something like that, all the trades going into that particular meeting in that particular cross or pair are closed. Doesn't matter, profit, loss, whatever. It's just rule of thumb that I always follow. So make sure we do that. So let's take a look at what's coming up now. Don't really have much for the rest of the day here in the Asian session. Going into tomorrow there, into Wednesday, we have a lot of stuff coming up. We have core durable goods for the US, and then we have oil inventories. This will have an impact on Canadian dollar. We have Bank of Canada, Governor Poloz speaking, and then we have Reserve Bank of New Zealand with their interest rate statement here. So they're not expected to raise the rates, but again, the market will be looking for both of these countries. They'll be looking for the commentary. So for Bank of Canada has done 2 interest rate hikes, and that's why Canadian dollar is so bullish right now. It's really kind of has sustained the trend. So it's been increasing in price, which means dollar CAD has been going down. So the market will be watching to see if that is going to continue. Or Bank of Canada is going to continue with the tightening of the monetary policy and raising of interest rates, or what their outlook is. Are they concerned about raising rates too soon? That type of thing. So if Bank of Canada comes and says, okay, we are okay with the Canadian dollar being so expensive, and we are, I think or they say we feel the Canadian economy is on track, it doesn't have any adverse effect, raising the rates doesn't have any adverse effect on the economy, all of that kind of commentary is considered positive for the Canadian dollar, in which case the dollar CAD is likely to drop. But if they start doing what Yellen did today, express concern about the pace of raising rates, about inflation, about economy overall, so things like that, the earnings, like things like that will have negative impact. So that's what the market will be watching for. And with New Zealand, Reserve Bank of New Zealand, they haven't done any rate hikes at all. Australia hasn't done rate hikes, New Zealand hasn't done rate hikes, but their interest rate is high as it is. So, excuse me. So there was one of the statements that I think one of the banks in New Zealand had basically said that that market was peaking, the economy was peaking in New Zealand, and they're not expecting a huge amount of growth in going forward. So that is a concern. If Reserve Bank of New Zealand echoes that statement, that will be bad for New Zealand dollar. However, if they say the economy is doing well and we are at some point, we'll have to start looking at raising interest rates, that of course will be bullish for New Zealand dollar. So that's kind of what we are expecting for tomorrow. So 2 central banks, both for commodity currencies. Keep that in mind. They are later in the day though. So overnight trades should be okay, but going into these statements, I would not have any trades that are related to either of these pairs at that time when the central bank statement is going to come out. All right, so that's all for news. Let's go on to the charts now. So things got a little bit messed up with Fed, but looking at our market close for the day, that is a bearish candle. We had a bearish candle and then we got follow through. So now we're looking for another follow through to the downside. The target here would be 1.1680 level, this previous support and resistance level. So this is a pretty strong support and resistance level. Price hasn't been able to break that since August, so in the last 2 months. So that would be our target. So looking for a bearish move here. In terms of our pullback, we could expect to pull back into this pivot point and then looking for a further move to the downside. In terms of our pound dollar here, so pound had a very neutral close for the day. Price opened and closed at exactly the same point. Big doji here, indecision candle. So right now, overall trend is a little bit to the downside here. The near-term trend is to the downside. Overall trend is to the upside, but the near-term trend is to the downside. So we're expecting the price to come back. I'm looking for it to come back into this 13400 level, right into here. And this will be a decision point because this is our previous high. So far price is just pulling back. So overall, the trend is still to the upside and that can continue. So we need to keep that in mind. So we're looking for a test here. And if the price holds above 13400, then we could see a price move back into this level, this kind of consolidation that's going on right now. And in that case, it will then turn bullish if it holds above this. But for now, we're looking for a test of that level again. So I'm looking for price to come back into 13400, and then we'll have to see if it goes higher. It can come a little bit lower. 133.80 is really the target that I'm looking for, but price could bounce off of at 13400 too. So let's leave it at 133.80. So if we take a look at our candle here, so it's already done the test into the pivot point and looks like it's dropping right now. So we're looking for price to continue lower. It may run into a problem here with S1 level, which is 13400, but 133.80 will be the next target to the downside. Aussie here. Okay, so Aussie is bearish. We're looking for a move to the downside. The next target here is this previous support and resistance. Nice bearish candle. We have a pin bar, or had a pin bar yesterday. Big drop, and now we're looking for a further drop into 78.30 level here. Could go down into this area, 78.20. So overall, the bias is to the downside in Aussie dollar. In terms of the pullback, we have already seen a pullback into the pivot point. So if the price pulls back into the pivot point again, that would be a good entry. So about 7,900 here, or 0.7900, or if it pulls back higher into this level, 7,913, that would be a good level for price to pull back to. And then we're looking for this type of a move. So we're looking for a drop, but looks like price is kind of holding low here, and it may continue lower. So overall, the move that we are expecting is to the downside. So it does look like it's picking up steam, and it could just continue lower. New Zealand US dollar. Yesterday we had bearish candle close, so we took this trade and that was bearish as well. So now we're looking for a follow through. So big bearish candle close. We're looking for follow through to the downside. The target, this looks nice. So we have support and resistance here, here, and over here. So this is when it turned around previously. So in this case, 71.45. So 71.50 would be the target to the downside. It is also holding. It did do a test into the pivot point already. This is a nice evening star formation. So looking for a continuation move to the downside. but it could test it again. So keep that in mind, but this looks bearish at the moment. So I'm looking for a continuation to the downside. And New Zealand dollar has been weak overall as well. So that looks like it may continue there. Dollar CAD here. Dollar CAD went all over the place, went in, just nicked me out, and then I did re-enter on this one. Excuse me. So with this one, this is interesting. So this is a complete play on support and resistance. It went a little bit higher, right into here. And a lot of times, because there are stops accumulated up there, so brokers will go get the stops. So this is a good support and resistance for it. We have a bearish pin bar on this. So dollar CAD and Aussie New Zealand dollar, they're not aligned at the moment because they are all bearish, and normally they move in opposite directions, so they're negatively correlated. So if Aussie dollar and New Zealand dollar are moving up, normally we would have dollar CAD moving down then, or vice versa. So in this case, they're all the bias is negative on all of them. So we're looking for a drop in everything. So this is a nice pin bar. And now I'm looking for price to continue on lower. So the only thing we need to keep in mind for both New Zealand dollar and Bank of Canada, and Canadian dollar would be the central banks. And so overnight, I think it may be okay. So tomorrow, though, going into closer to those, that's when we'll have to be really careful. So here we are into this previous support and resistance area, and I'm looking for price to, so this is where we are. So if price holds below this, closes below the pivot point, then we're basically looking for price to drop further. So that's what I'm expecting here. And then we have Euro Pound. That is a bearish close for the day as well. And we're looking for further move to the downside in this one as well. Euro Swiss franc. Sorry, just give me one moment, please. Okay, so for this one, we have Euro Swiss franc. This is bearish close as well. And we're looking for further move to the downside here. Now, we have seen a big move, so we just need to be careful with this one. So we're just looking for this target here. 1.1350 will be the next target to the downside. Pound here, excuse me. This one is bearish as well. So we've seen a test here. So even though the candle close is bullish, but there's a big pin up here and the rejection. So we could get a pullback right into this previous support and resistance level. So 130.80 level will be the approximate level where I would look for a potential short in this one. But excuse me, sorry. But the bias for this one is to the downside as well. Dollar Swiss franc. Okay, let's go to pound yen. Pound yen, we are, so all these pound crosses are sort of sideways right now because pound dollar is sideways. So I'm going to trade this range. So if price gets to the top here, 152.15 level or 20 level here will be a potential short level. But if it stays below this level here, 151.50, that could give us a potential short opportunity here, something like this. So I would keep that in mind as well. So for now, it's just sideways, so there's no clear direction in this. So I'm going to look for a 151.50 level or 152.20 level as two levels to look for a potential short. The target would be back into 149.80. So that will be the target to the downside. Euro yen here, very neutral close for the day. So this could go either way. Probably not the best one to trade at the moment. Aussie yen, this one looks bearish. So we're looking for a move back into this 8800 level. So that will be the target to the downside. Dollar yen, this is pushing up, so looking for price to go into 112.68 level, and then we may run into trouble here. So in this case, the move could be one of these. So that's something to keep in mind here, especially if the other yen crosses start to go down, then this one could. And if the price, let's say, breaks and holds above this level, then we would turn bullish on this, because right now it is holding this previous support and resistance level. So the yen crosses right now are not particularly clear in terms of even their alignment, where they're going. So right now, so first test would be 112.68. If it breaks the level, then we're looking for further move up into 113.50. If it holds below this, then I'm looking for a trade basically back into the range here, because it is holding this range, and it's held it for the last few days. So we will trade it as a range bound until that such time that it breaks out of the range. Euro Aussie, it's been range bound for quite some time, hasn't done much. So we will just kind of leave this alone. It's just sideways, hasn't really done much. So that's not the best one to look at the moment. So in this case, so right now, I am interested in New Zealand dollar again, and potentially Aussie dollar as well. Those are my favorites. This one here, we could get another opportunity here. So I have a short position in this already, but I have a small one. So I may look to increase that position, add to that position as it pulls back into this previous levels, or it goes and tests this level. I'd be looking into that as well. But for now, New Zealand dollar or Aussie are two that I'm actually interested in looking at. So that's it for today. Any questions or anything to add? All right, so it looks like no questions, so we'll call it a wrap. I will see you guys later then.